Hello everyone and welcome. This is RC Radio, and today we're going to cover the making of the Traveller. Starting with some longboats. These are Viking inspired, stylized longboats, but the big difference is that they're spaceships, so it's like Vikings in space. What I like to do is start with a lot of different designs and go ahead and make 15 or 20 different versions. What I do is I just start sketching them out, and I'm cleaning them up right now and adding to them, trying to get the essence of a futuristic longboat that would fly, but also mixing it with Viking mythology. And the part that I was focusing on most was the prow of the ship. Many times Vikings used them to eat off evil spirits, to protect them. They were often a dragon, a snake, or some sort of animal. So I tried to incorporate that into the design of these futuristic space Viking longboats. So that was the main theme, including the shape, maybe the oars, some coverage for rain, canopies. Tried to simulate oars, but putting in jet engines and different symbolisms of the traditional Viking longboat. So the formula that I like to use is a 70-30 split, somewhere in there. Try to keep the original essence of the design at 70%, then add 30% of something new. That's an old concept technique that we use. Just about done here with the sketches. This one here I like. There's a bunch of them I like, but you have to pick one. And I'll save these for another design or illustration. I'm just trying to get the feel and as many versions as I can while I'm feeling inspired or motivated. I like to keep it really loose, really scratchy and messy until it's time to refine it. Using a lot of contour lines, so when I render it I could follow the shape of the hull of the boat or ship, and just trying to make each one a little bit different, make each one a little bit unique in shape and form, and apply that. So I've added grayscale. Is obviously sped up, but oftentimes I would sit and design for a good hour, and once I got enough designs I'll refine. So there you have it. We have about 12 ship designs. We're going to pick one and turn it into something great. So what I'd like to do here is slow it down just a little bit to show you some of the Photoshop techniques being used. I like to create a new layer, duplicate the existing one, then drop the opacity using Command U, and I'll bring it to about 20%. And then what I like to do is either draw on top of that again to make some changes, or in this case, we're going to be making some very strong silhouettes with the lasso tool and going to fill the whole page. The purpose of the silhouette, as many of you may know, is to create a strong outline to see the true shape of what that form would be against the opposite color or light. And it's really important in concept and design to really do silhouette studies, because it really makes things as clear as possible, minimizing all the details, so you really get a clean look at what shape and form you're creating has. And you can use this in multiple ways in future illustrations and decide which ones are too short, too long. It's just a great way to simplify. Here's another part that I really enjoy about this process is I'll go ahead and get those silhouettes and push them back, and I will use a reverse negative white, almost chalk, it looks like a blueprint to me, type penciling technique to go ahead and create another layer on top of the black in Photoshop to go ahead and explore even more detail. Now that we got the strong shape, I go back and I start to redefine the areas of interest to me on each of the illustrations, ships, vessels, etc. And I use this quite a bit. It really is a nice contrast between pencil and white. Now we're using a charcoal gray or black with chalk on top. Gives it a real blueprint type feel. So I drop the opacity, and on another layer I'm sketching on top of it, and I'm really starting to look at all the contour lines of the vessel, the ship, the hull, the prow, which is the front of the ship, and go on and enjoying the process of detailing and filling in some of those details that I had in my mind that I just didn't want to put down quite yet. And it's really a discovery as you start to develop these drawings. I really enjoy this process the most, the concept, the early phases and the sketching, because it moves very quick. The rest of it is work and refining, and sometimes you got to be careful not to overwork things. I'm notorious for putting in too much detail and overworking things, so I strive for simplicity. Okay, the fun part begins. What we're doing here is we're gonna take those separate independent sketches and designs and put them into one layout or composition. Taking the longboat, taking the character that's going to be in that space Viking longboat, and putting them together in the final layout. Usually do a base sketch. This I really wanted to be a center illustration, just so it was the focal point. Usually I'm doing things to the lower right or lower left for composition purposes, but I really like the feel of the center location here on this. So the sketching, which I tend to do very small, like a thumbnail, so I don't get caught up in it. And yet another part that I enjoy is the cleanup of going over the characters. Similar to what we did on the longboat, these are sketches and extra detail work to add on top of a looser sketch, going in and maybe putting a scar in, or a knocked out tooth, or defining the hair. I really enjoy this part, and even though he's a very small character in this illustration, I'll come back and oftentimes use these characters. Okay, we are dropping in some color here. Going with a very desaturated background. I'm going to add in all the basics of my sketch. The foreground, arced planet, clouds, additional planets. I'm using a marquee and lasso tool to fill, using a gradient fill. Duplicating, working pretty quick, because I already have had this in my mind for days that I wanted to do this and how to execute. I'll use multiple layers. Of course, this is sped up. I'll change the hue, opacity, layer things in such a way. Then I'll go ahead and double check the sketch to make sure I'm staying true to it. And then I'll drop in one of those sweet silhouettes that I did and really start to fine tune it, add in the colors and the details. So the concept and the idea is that he's traveling through portals in multiple universes on his space Viking longboat. And this came to me in a dream that I had, and I knew I had to illustrate it. So picture this longboat that's hovering through space, through the atmosphere, at high speeds, teleporting from place to place, traveling at the speed of thought. It's kind of the concept behind it without going into the depths of the story. But it's important to capture those moments as a creator and turn it into something that you care about and you want to share. So there you have it.